Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Getting to Know You, an Owners Club exclusive podcast. Today, our featured guest is Megan Baker. Good morning, Megan. Hello. Where are you at today? What time zone do you live in?
I am in just south of Denver, Colorado, and so I'm in Mountain Standard Time.
I myself am in Central, so we're about an hour apart. I do want to take a moment real quick and just ask our audience, if you're watching this video right now on YouTube, could you please go down and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and after you hear Megan's fantastic story, you can add some edifying comments, cheer her on. We would really appreciate that. Megan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I've been in the entrepreneurial space since I was 7. Um, my parents ran an Amway business, and I can still recite to you their IBO number. But so I grew up listening to Zig Ziglar and, you know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all of these mind building techniques since I was, driving back and forth to school with my dad in the car. And I didn't know quite how that would shape my personality or outlook on life from the rest of the population until I got much older. But I went from that space to becoming a nurse practitioner. I did alternative and complementary therapies in Nashville with kiddos, and then I married my husband, and we did ice cream stores across the state of Tennessee during the recession of 2008, which was, I guess, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
For sure.
And we rode out that recession like champs and ended up getting 2 more ice cream stores. After that, the franchise gifted them to us because the other owner fell out. And what we learned from that is that we are excellent at people and culture. And then we also learned our lesson in scaling. So we've done that. Then we did a .com where we drop shipped professional grade supplements to nurse practitioners and doctors in my alternative medicine space so that they didn't have to carry back stock in their offices. And got out of that when we moved to Denver, and now we have a bathroom remodel company. So we've done a little bit of everything in many different realms, but the cohesive space that we keep seeing, the ribbon of similarity, is that we love people and we love systems and processes and building that culture that supports people, which is what great business is created on.
I love the variety. Were you living where you're living now when you ran your ice cream stores? Are those
Those are back
local
in
too?
Nashville. So
Nashville. Okay, I thought I heard you say
yeah, yeah.
Nashville.
I'm a native
Okay.
Nashvilleian, grew up with, Faith Hill and Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman coming into our ice cream stores. I grew up in that space in Nashville where stars were still very present, and it's changed a lot since I've left 13 years ago, but it's still very much home. I'd very much like to be in Nashville during the springtime, about February, March, when they have tulips and we have brown grass in Denver.
Absolutely. So tell me, what are you guys working on currently? Talked about your bathroom remodel company. So can you expand on that? Is that what you're currently working on for active income? Is that your future as well?
That's what we're currently working on. Before COVID happened, I actually stepped out of managing a medical practice, and I managed a practice along Denver's Front Range, grew it from 12 providers to 32 providers, and created all their training programs and employee integration spaces. But I stepped out, and within that 30-day window, COVID happened. And so during that time, my husband and I reopened a dream for self-storage that had been 15 years in the closet, and we ended up within 3 months getting our first self-storage facility. I then had a baby 30 days later, and we managed construction and lease up and all the fun things that come with that. We doubled the size of the facility and exited it in 2023 because of some because of our investor partners. They had different goals in life. And so when we exited, I thought that I was going to stay at home with the kiddos and just enjoy myself. And my husband came to me 12 days later and said, the company that I've been working for, we knew that there were problems. It was a bathroom remodel company, and the company that I've been working for lost $100 million in the last 9 months. So they're going down, and everyone's looked to me saying, hey, Brian, you can do business. Can you make another bathroom remodel company? And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. This is not what I was expecting. And so we exited the storage facility October 12th. We had a bathroom remodel company. We filed the LLC October 31st. And by November 27th, we had made our first sale, and it was off to the races. So we started with 12 employees in 2 states, and it's been a ride. At this point, we've finally gotten, the wheels greased and some good momentum. So I was at Squat Up Summit last year and had the opportunity to jump into Owners Club, but I didn't feel like it was quite right because this was still such a fledgling business. And honestly, we didn't have all the systems set up until probably middle of last year. So when Owners Club came up again this year, I said, that is where I need to be. And it's been a tremendous help in this bathroom remodel business thus far. Our focus for the last several months has been social media management and marketing. The only reason I was on social media before is to look for horses to buy. So this whole putting my face out there and doing cameras and recording myself is completely foreign territory, but this group has been such a great instigator and supporter and wave underneath to inspire me to go to new spaces. So right now we're just dialing up the bathroom remodel space, getting organic leads built in so that we don't have to purchase so many purchased leads. And we're really creating a space in the Denver market to bring service back to this space, back to this remodel space, because all of the rest of the companies in Denver are all about, they're top heavy with corporate, and they don't come from Denver. They come in from someone else, and they still say they're local. So we're trying to put out a space that says, we value you as a person, we value you as a customer, we see you as our neighbors, our friends, our family members, and we want to treat you as such and bring heart back to this bathroom remodel space.
I love that. You're really going to touch that entire community with that message and that intention behind your business.
We're trying.
Yeah, you're doing great. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your horses. Is that a business for you as well, or is that just a passion?
That's a passion. My mother told me when I was young, she said, Megan, don't tie your passion to your paycheck.
Mm. Ooh, that's
And
good.
I became a nurse instead. I was actually going to be a vet. And then I realized late nights and on call all the time was not my cup of tea. I was working on that owner's mindset even way back then, right?
Hmm.
How do I extricate myself from the physical hands-on? And so I ended up becoming a nurse who has shifts. And I was thinking about this the other day. I realized nursing has given me the ability to go back to my passion with gusto and vigor and keep that creativity there instead of having to tie my passion to how am I going to make a paycheck. And so my husband was super kind. He grew up in Steamboat Springs with his dad, who was a Forest Service agent. And so they took elk hunts into the mountains on horseback. And so when he met me, he said, oh, horses, I know how to do this. And I went, maybe on a little different level. He likes the calm, sit like a sack of potatoes. The horse will just get you where you need to go. And I like the fire. I like the ones that have social problems and head problems, and we work those head problems out. It ties into my Mount Everest. In fact, I've had this Mount Everest for over 20 years, and the concept is to take troubled horses and troubled people, and in explaining how to meet the horse where they are, have the opportunity for the human to then analyze where they are. And so often, the unraveling of a horse's problems and issues will speak to the broken spaces in a human and create this bond and this understanding that they don't get face to facing with another human. So it kind of steps it out of the confrontational space and moves it into a collaborative space. And so I've had this passion for a long time to pair these two groups together and create impact in that space. There are folks doing it. I've trained people to do it that have gone out to do it now with trafficked children and women, and it makes a big impact. And so often, when you put someone on a fence and you say, choose the animal that you want to work with, they'll choose the animal who has a very similar story, a very similar vein to what they've personally gone through. And it's fascinating then to walk through the animal story, and then the person gets healed because they say, that's my story. But so
Mm.
often when we have trauma as people, we put up walls and barriers so we don't have to interact with those painful people in our lives or those painful situations. But when we give people the ability to interact and have compassion on an animal, then they learn and they flex that muscle a little bit. And then my goal is to transition that little muscle flex back into society and work to improve the lives and the quality of their people to people interaction.
That's really beautiful. I've heard that horses specifically have an energy field that's 100x more than humans. They're
I could see
we
that.
Yeah, like humans have an energy field, right? Someone walks into the room with bad energy, you know it. You feel it. Someone walks into the room with good energy, you can feel that. If you're really in tune with your instincts, you feel that. However, this was just recent too. I don't recall where the source was, but they said that horses have an energy field just like humans, but it's 100 times more powerful. So it makes sense to me that when that human comes in front of the horses, that energy is speaking to that person, even if they don't understand it, kind of tapping into their subconscious that that's their horse. And this is your Mount Everest, you said.
This is part of it.
Okay.
I developed this concept 20 years ago. I developed this dream and this vision, and it's just grown and grown. And I'm still talking it out because even as big as my Mount Everest has grown, it just doesn't seem big enough.
Mm.
And so I'm grappling with that, saying, well, this is what I have at this point, but let's see where it goes further. So as I've been in this space and allowed myself to dream and go there in my vision space, I think that there's also a component. So if I could explain it currently, it's a 900-acre space in the mountains, and we call it 7R Ranch. That 7R Ranch is restoration, revelation, rejuvenation. Um, I'm blanking on the rest. I should have written them down.
That's okay.
And this started as a passion project for my father-in-law. He would take people up into the mountains on horseback or take them fishing. And so often in that space, in a place that resonates a different energy that I say is closer to God, then people's defenses drop. And especially men, when they're doing things, when they're actively doing things, it puts them in a place of collaboration instead of competition and gives their brain space to think. My husband and I helped start a men's ministry 13 years ago up in Conifer. And that's one of the components there is reaching the hearts of men to inspire identity, to really connect with their God given identity. And this Mount Everest of mine is also of my husband. And so we'd like to see a place where there's fishing and recreation and places for people to disconnect. It brings in pastors and missionaries who need to be refilled. So often people pour out, pour out, pour out in those professions, but they don't get a place to refill. And so have space for them, have space for people who have societal interaction troubles, whether that's kids that have been through the foster system or veterans. And I'd also like to now have a component where we have tiny houses that house veterans that then get to help take care of the property, because my dad was Vietnam veteran, a veteran Marine, and the mental the mental trauma that they went through during that period, a lot of them carried that with them. As a VA nurse back in Nashville, I could tell you, based on the behaviors, I could tell you who was from what tour of duty, whether it was World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm. They all carry their special flavor. And so often when they get out of the military, they need a place where they can re-identify with who they've been made to be and what their purpose is on life. So I'd love to have, I've built this Mount Everest to include tiny homes that house veterans where they are in community and in collaboration with one another, healing one another through a common experience, but then being able to put their hands to work in an agricultural space. There's just the satisfaction that comes from cleaning stalls, tilling land, clearing spaces, where you get to say at the end of the day, I did that. And this is what it looked like, and this is what it looks like now. And there's such a great spirit of ownership in that space. So to give them the ability to put their hands and their minds to work in that space and have ownership over something that's bigger than them, to create space for all these other programs as well, is kind of my holistic Mount Everest at this point. As a nurse practitioner, I realize that health problems aren't just one, they don't have just one factor. The mental space affects the physical space, the nutritional space affects the physical space, affects the spiritual space. It's all tied together. And often when we work to see people restored and renewed, there are multiple components to that journey.
It sounds like an amazing, very healing space. If someone wanted to bring value to you, what do you need in your business right now?
In my business right now, collaboration and accountability for social media, to be out there on social media. In real estate, we're heading back into the self-storage space this year, as well as purchasing service businesses. So if anyone's interested in talking through business, wants to know more about self-storage, I've done a huge swath of self-storage, from hiring to climate controlled construction to non-climate controlled construction to dealing with permits and making creative storage spaces. I'm always happy to chat storage. It's kind of my favorite space in the real estate realm. But for collaboration, me personally, I'm a joiner. So if there's a visionary out there that says, I've got all these dreams, because I'm a 50-50 integrator visionary, I can see visionary, I can translate that to integrator. And then what my specific skill set is to translate that vision into, okay, how do we get this done with people? How do we create processes? How do we create empowering places for the people that run this business to sit in their role, fill their role, and really express their best self in that role? Because the people of a business are the greatest asset. You'll have lots of great ideas, but if you don't have people to implement them who are supported, then the ideas fall flat. So the way that people can help me is, if you have storage deals that you'd like to underwrite, I'm happy to do that with you. I'm looking for partners in the self-storage space who want to learn or want to talk business, service businesses. I would love to get on a team where they need that translation ability from visionary to integrator to systems to this is how we do things. I'll break it up into 10 steps and say, okay, let's run with this, and this is how we get it done. Those are my immediate needs right now. And I'm just super excited to be in a space where other people are not afraid to dream big. And I think the conversation that I've heard most in this space is, well, that dream is great, but how can we make it bigger? And I love that.
That's right. Shoot higher. We have a Mount Everest, and Pace says we have small peaks and then we have, our really big peak. So how can we make that peak even bigger? If someone was to contact you, how do you like to be contacted? Would that be Instagram DMs? Is it email, texting?
Actually, I've embraced social media over the last year. I'm a gator in this PACE space, and I lead a community Zoom once a week with Jake Day. So Instagram is fine, Facebook is fine. My Instagram handle is Meg Baker 634. So MEGBAKER 634. You can also reach out to me via email, Meg Bailey, Bailey, like the Irish cream, 634 at gmail.com. And I look forward to getting to know all of you very soon in Monterey.
Yes, yay. Very good. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in person.
It will be grand. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.